opportunities for Queasy to go unscathed on that high ground. Even with him starting the heal off before zone fully closed, they did more than enough damage and found more than enough heals to make this game look easy.
Queasy looking to secure his 4th FNCS title. Thomas HD trying to get his first, the most consistent player yet to take home an FNCS. You know they want it more than ever.
It's going to be the greatest chance. There was kind of the final moments. Grapple blading to the front side of the zone. Almost even threading the needle in terms of when he popped it. You saw him go down to about 16 or so HP. But once again, Thomas and Queasy really rise up. And something we noticed throughout game 1, throughout game 2, first place, the teams at the top of the leaderboard are falling rather early. So another chance for a team to take over first place. But have they done enough?
Acho agora é o nono jogo.
Thank you very much, boys. I'm so excited.
Acho que agora está melhor. Não, está melhor.
Queasy is no stranger to a victory royale in a major final. He's no stranger to winning a major.
Deixa eu ver o povo aqui do chat está achando, tipo...
has narrowly missed out in the past, but now they are one step closer to flying towards that axe of champions mini minor. And actually, Queasy got lucky at the end because he found a magical med kit and it netted them in the top spot.
Yeah, you did. This is just classic Queasy gameplay.
Mas eu não vi essa nova pontuação, né?
We saw Hutrick and Swizzy. It was all the way up on top. We thought, you know what, this could be a good game. These guys haven't seen too much of them, but yeah, Thomas HD had other ideas with this. Look at that. One snipe, chops it out, and then thinks, you know what, I'm going to go for it again, and hits it again because his name is Thomas HD. That's what this guy can do. Unbelievable stuff. And then just to have that ability, the green light to go up to height and then say, right, Queasy, you take over. What do we do? How do we win this?
I mean, that double snipe is just ridiculous. Like, that might be one of the best things I've seen in a long, long time in an FNCS to take high. But like Frankie alluded to, the actual win of this game was so unfortunate because you saw Queasy was on high, he drops down it, he's run out, he has no medkits left, he's hoping the other players finds a medkit on the train tracks. I'm like, how lucky can you get? I'm not going to talk about luck going before they actually won the game because all these somebody's looking out for Thomas hoping to get that first FNCS win. And I mean, still they are delivering in terms of their performances, and it's so deserving. Again, last year, they had the chance to win it. They came second place by 1 point. Not one elimination, not 1 point was the difference. So hopefully they can get to first place and hold on and win that first FNCS for Thomas HD. It would be so deserved.
It really would be. Can I just give a shout out to Nicholas and Oliver, who are Thomas HD's biggest fans? We've had the honour of meeting these two back at the Global Championship, and I have a feeling you're going to be watching right now and eating a celebratory hot dog. So Nicholas and Oliver, if you're watching your boy Thomas HD, I hope you're enjoying the show, and fingers crossed for your favourite player. Let's take a look at the leaderboard and find out where we are, and fingers crossed
that
for your
was
an incredible performance from Thomas and Malabuka. But Sangild and Marius, the elimination, the lanes they were taking in that endgame mini minor left me breathless.
Yeah, incredible stuff from that duo. I think it was 11 eliminations they had there right at the end. To do that on the big stage in the quarterfinals for a duo that we don't get to talk about too much as top tier names is absolutely incredible, right? They're not nervous at all. They're bringing the heat right now, and that's the reason why they've just moved up 6 places on that leaderboard. You just alluded to it there as well, Evan. The zones. They've been 3 zones in pretty much the exact same place. So for those guys, they're taking very much advantage of that. They're taking the most amount of advantage of that, it seems like, because they drop very, very close to that. For someone like Queasy and Thomas, those guys can test off score, right? They've only had 2 chances to actually make it to that end game. So to see those guys really making the most and grasping as many points as they can when the zone's in their favor is really nice from them.
Yeah, again, big ups to Danish Fortnite right now. They got, 3 teams in the top 5. Obviously, they won that first place slot, and shout out to the first place team, Malabuka Mustache, breaking 500 points now. They are the ones in the lead, and the way they're playing, they might not let
It It was a fantastic performance by these guys. And I wonder if they can hold on. They still haven't got themselves that elusive victory royale, but consistency is king in this format. And it's so impressive to see that between this duo, there's always one of them that's playing for the end game, and there's always another one of them who's picking up the eliminations. And honestly, it feels like it's a mini minor. It's not actually consistent from game to game, but what is consistent is that they will have at least 4 elims as they head into the end game.
Yeah, this is a frightening goats, it seems like, on the region. Everyone was used to talk about Malibu. Yes, Stash led the way on damage style. Let's see if he can do it again today.
Let's see, as we only have a few more games left, and we're going into double digits, fellas. It's game number 10 with Jacob PR and Takata.
This is where the stage is set for the last moment of Major 1, Jacob. It's the last chance to kind of set yourself up for that final match of the day. What are they going to change up?
I mean, honestly, a couple of these teams need to change up how aggressive they're getting early, and then some other ones about how passive they're playing early. Some teams going for Surge. We saw it a few times already, and other teams just trying to out-heal Surge. And with these new changes, it's not the easiest thing. In some of these zones, we need 10, we need 15 players to go down. And even if you have the resources to out-heal it, it leaves you nothing left once it does turn off.
I mean, we have duos like Thomas HD and Queasy who have engagements right off the start, getting contested at the drop spot. But you have duos like Malibuka Merstash who have a vault to themselves, medallions to themselves, mythic blue. The battle bus is ready. Let's get into it.
Will anything change here in game 10? It's going to be our 4th game of the day, and already you're seeing Queasy, Thomas, nothing changing here. Business as usual between the two. And it does look like Queasy Thomas have that elevation that we're always talking about. Cringe gets spotted out. Thomas being so patient, even though he has the ability with the hammer pump to go ahead and land a one-shot. He's making sure to use the teamwork to really make this dream work.
He got the benefit of getting a shotgun off the start, which can coming out on top. The issue is now, as the time keeps going, the clock keeps ticking. Both teams are going to keep looting, and it looks like it isn't going to be an instant brawl.
Not just yet. What we've seen so far, I think Crimson Knights a little bit more towards the Queasy Thomas. They never go one unless they have a huge advantage right out of the gates to really chase after any of these combinations, especially towards Lavish Layer, where there's so many places to hide, around corners, behind doors, even behind some boxes and chairs. As you tune in to Marius already down right out of the gates. Sangil's going to be by himself, and they are playing so well today. Almost getting double-digit eliminations in that last game.
Thomas HD now in the action as he knocks down one. Engagement has commenced. Upper hand for Queasy and Thomas HD. Is it going to be enough to finish it off? It is. Nice 2 elims now, 12 points to bump them up. Currently, they were 3rd place going into this match, just 7 points below Reason and Vidil. So with these 12 points, they're already going to be in 2nd.
Already we're seeing positions change, and it's exactly how the fight started. Crimson Nods trying to work their way up. Thomas, Queasy already having that advantage. In the end, the fight just as quick as it starts, but from one side of the map to the other. Snooty steps rather calm. His Reason does look like he's already stuck as a solo. And this might change the way you think. It might change the way you play if you're someone like Reason, especially with its 1.5 points. Placement is everything for him in this situation.
Once again, Mali Merstash picking up the medallion and mythic loot here. Now shortly going to go towards the vault. There are duos in fencing fields, but they're not exactly fighting each other off the start. They're focused more on looting up and continuing the rest of their path. They have this plan down to the second from the amount of times they've done it. What the farm on the rotate, how to maximize how long it takes. Ping Mixin now as well, already outside of their original drop spot, being chased down almost, it seems, by a duo on a ridge.
Shots still going through, even though that's not a ton. That team is getting the shots. It's just allowing them a little bit more flexibility and freedom as the game does progress, especially if they're still able to find surge shots, even if it's not just on mixing and pings. As they are looking around all other directions, they have the elevation advantage in a position like that. As Sandgill now under pressure once more. He was left alone as a solo. Nishatini trying to go ahead and the run of a team that's just been so dominant throughout the past couple of games, and he's doing everything he can to try to just disengage, but he's going a little bit too quick for himself. And this is where Misha and Tini, they're just going to continuously chase this one down. This is 6 points. This is a player that's ahead of them on the leaderboard that they don't have to worry about for the remainder of this game.
Looking to plan his escape route. Does have that grapple blade in hand, giving him the advantage, as I believe his opponents do not. So they'll take shots from afar, but they're not going to be able to chase Sandgill as quickly as he's able to escape.
It does look like Misha and Tini can remain on the chase, especially as we continue to move over to this side of the map. There's not as many teams contesting compared to some of these other split drops and overall POIs, especially with another team. I think that was low-key an area nearby. Misha and Tini might get distracted with them and allow Sandgill to get out and have a chance to get Marius back into the game, because that's going to be the biggest thing. There's such huge strength in numbers. Even with some solo clutches, the biggest difference is when teams are able to make it to the end game alive.
It's easier said than done, Jacob, is the issue, especially with the level of this lobby. Astral Art skill close by. If they're able to spot Sandgill here as a solo, could be incredibly dangerous for him. He does have the grapple blade though, so he is going to be able to quickly get up this ridge. The shots come through though. You can see him almost acting aggressive to try and show confidence, make them think that it's a duo that's healthy and ready to fight. But little do they know, it's a solo with 50 HP and no spare shield or health to work with.
He has the reboot card. That's a good chance for him to move back towards Rebel's Roost. A lot of the teams are rotating towards the south, towards the center of zone. So a couple reboot vans up there have the chance to be uncontested. Nobody really in that position. Cade and Diox started these games off over towards fencing fields. They loot up a lot of the outskirts since they know Malibuca and Mustache will go for the vault, will go for the NPC. And then they kind of disengage on out from there and try to get their surge before they start to rotate towards the center of zone. They kind of work their way from the outside in.
33 bullets in that Reaper sniper rifle. More than enough to make an impact as they continue hunting around to see if there's any players in the surrounding area. For Sandgill though, it looks like he's making it happen. Reboot comes through. Are there any duos around? I don't see them. No shots coming through either, but just in case, building up, making sure they're good to go. You can see on the mini-map though, it looks like someone's interested.
Yeah, there was one duo that heard the noise and they're quickly rotating off into this direction. We know exactly where the reboot van is, but we don't have confirmation that they are still there. Up until this point, we're saying breaking through. Still have to break those. I actually got stuck on that.
Nossa, ele foi muito
Fight's gonna begin though. That's
seco,
Art Skill on the other side. Makes easy work of Sandgill. Marius gonna have to go ahead and make up for it.
Morreu,
Was able to
bosta.
grab a decent loadout for a situation like this, trying to merge into the box. Art Skill is going to be there on the other side, trade for trade, a knock for a knock. But Marius still has a player on Astral right below him who is full shield and HP that he has to work his way through.
Marius was the one that got rebooted, so no shield to work with. Just a little bit of
Vai ter que jogar
distance.
muito bem.
He can make it happen. He just needs to hit that initial big shot. He cannot take one from his opponent here. Astral 26.
Mas ele
It's not
também
going to be enough
um
yet,
tiro de Deus.
but if he can keep it coming, 4 builds to work with. Now in the box, needs to get out. Unable to hit the next shot as now he's dropped down. Forced to work with just 3 builds. He needs to connect this next shot.
Ele vai dar save.
Uh-oh, running out of time here. There's not a lot of heals to go around as Astrals does look like he might try to bait out the revive, get Marius to break into the box, and really has no other choice unless you want to go try to find a 2v1. Seconds left, player will go down overall due to timing. Solidifies it into a 1v1. Marius trying to turn and burn, but Astral just too much HP. I said that in the beginning. He was full shield and full HP. Unfortunate enough, there was a great attempt, but it can't overtake your opponent.
We'll take a look now. Pixie walks.
Lasky Hen. They are going to be around the forecast tower. Taking shots with the sniper. Unable to connect one yet, though. As the waiting game here for the objective will continue.
Actually, oh wow, Pixie almost gets sideswiped there. Scroll narrowly missing that shot. Great opportunity, but now he's coned up, boxed up. He's gonna work his way down. Wax works his way out. Him and Pixie are able to reunite finally in the same box. And there's another team kind of waiting on over in that direction, rotating on out. They didn't like what they saw in terms of trying to third party this fight. They think it's a safer and better play to rotate towards the zone, especially with forecast tower being in that direction.
We've seen a lot of quick scopes turn fights around here. All it takes is one headshot. The sniper rifle isn't just effective from afar, it's effective from close range. Say one of the best weapons to turn fights around. Pace and Benno looking to see if they can climb back up. Second half of the day they dominated. As Mixinez will be the one that goes down. There's one on the board for Benno now, but the pressure from the teams in the surrounding areas will continue. As they're gonna reloot what they got from this elimination.
Tem vários jogadores que estão jogando tipo muito bem também.
This is typically a chance to, if a team is fighting for forecast tower over on that side, for them not necessarily to go in, get aggressive with the point getting eliminations, no, not that, but more so to try to keep getting a surge, taking advantage of teams, Kieran Kudo kind of hiding nearby. Don't want to really take that risk. Got to imagine forecast tower, saw it in the distance, already boxed up. Queasy Thomas with their early game eliminations. They're feeling comfortable sitting on top of Lavish Slayer. And with the zone rotating towards the now, they're just hoping that all the teams that landed towards the north, whether on the east or the west side, use Lavish Slayer as a way to rotate through. And that's how they're hoping to find their surge.
Rotate coming through now. Thomas grouping back up with Queasy. That was going ahead. You can see up at the north side of the map here, back from zone. There are some duos coming back in. But what Thomas HD and Queasy are going to do now is reform up that metal, get those materials capped. As we take a look at Bevies and Pablo. Shot comes through, nothing connects. Currently in 4th place on the leaderboard, but not too far from first. It's still anybody's game, Jacob. And this being the second to last match of the day, you really want to do the best you can to set yourself up for the highest chance of success for that FNCS trophy.
Yeah, especially considering how close this FNCS actually is. It's literally wide open for the taking. One blunder, one little misstep could cost a team everything, especially as you said, we're getting in the second half of the day. Few games remaining overall, which means there's few opportunities to even make up a point differential, depending on where you're at on the leaderboard. To see Weezen just trying to make his way through. For him, Surge is going to be a challenge in this game, especially as a solo, because even if you're able to pop the shots, as soon as the team turns around and sees you're a solo, they might see that as a green light to go and take advantage of the opportunity while they have it.
You can see here, Thomas and Queasy, seeing that the zone did pull more north here by Lavish Layer, they're automatically put on the uncongested side, and they're not forced to rotate really deep into zone. So they're capitalizing on that, including the fact that they already got the 2 eliminations and damage off the start to kind of play here on the safer side, as eventually they'll get in and build up and look for those tags that they will need. But for now, they have a bit of time to kind of plan out the rest of the match.
To me, I feel like it doesn't even matter how long they stay in the zone. I feel like everything for Queasy and Thomas is calculated at this point. Even having an entertaining run at the end. Venno's domination does continue. He's able to get a knock onto Shaco's, but he himself goes down yet again. The aggression turning out to be also their demise in some cases. Feels like Queen is getting pushed.
Yeah. In a tough situation here. 487 points on the board, 43 builds to work with. He does have those 3 med kits if he would like to stay in zone longer, but forced into this engagement. He really needs to show his dominance.
He's doing a good job fighting back, especially with number massively against him. One's gonna go down, but unfortunately he's just all by himself in the numbers game. The 2v1 is just too strong for him to overtake, but you gotta give him credit being able to not only fight back, but at least get a knock onto one of the two players.
Giraz, Chari, ruined reels. A lot of duos here in the area. They will be taking pop shots at each other. Good news for this duo is they're elevated enough to look for those shots on the players rotating in. Diox Cade, a little more close quarters engagement here. Debut Pixel are going to be the players close by.
Cade is just a sliver of a shield just left, so they're gonna have to reunite, figure out what order they want to use everything in. They do have minis. They have, I do believe, big pots or maybe a flowberry fizz as well, just to kind of get the last remaining of the shields. But there's still a lot of teams littered in and around fencing fields. So you have to be careful, not overstay your welcome or leave at the wrong time. Even more coming in. You see Andalex and Sato in the distance, Cam Misetti in the hill outside of fencing fields. Zone pushing in this direction, it is going to become the congested side of the map.
See Mustache, sniper in hand, looking around for an opening. Pixel the duo, most likely doing a similar thing here. As there are just a few duos in the surrounding area. Fourth zone will come to a close now. Fifth will appear. It's up north. They gotta go. Good news for Queasy and Thomas HD. A little bit of worse news for the duos here down south.
This is where Zone's going to push teams further and further away from Rift Island. See Volko, Vortex just almost in the center of the zone overall. Have plenty of options. And teams even rotating, riding the train. But when you're going to get off it, though, that's going to be the biggest thing. And they're even capturing it just to get even more loot. It's Hen. That's Vasque. I do believe they were kind of pushed off their forecast tower maybe this time around. But not only is that a free rotation, you see them going to the slow side of the zone, because remember I mentioned the south being the congested, and they're going to get all those loot, which comes with extra shields and HP at times.
Eco and Pink up against Volko Vortexers. Both duos quite centered in the zone here. They shouldn't have to make much of a rotate at all, but as you can see, the damage required for Surge will continue increasing. You can hear that noise. It's a panic for a lot of players in the lobby, just like Wheat and Shimoki. We're 164 below. They see the rift close by, but what they're more interested in are those shots onto Pablo, are those shots on the players. We're contesting the Rift Island. You can see an engagement happening up above. Is that where Wheat wants to go? As he already gets chased by another player.
Doesn't really have a choice here. Down on Surge, team trying to push into their box. And further falling down 192 below the damage threshold. His only chance here is to fight back, especially with teams all around getting to focus, put him in the box, and that's Hero Kudo from far away, even putting shots in that direction, really not allowing Wheat and Shmoky to find any stride here in the fight. Even got Lazen on the other side, trying to break in from the low ground. This is just so chaotic and desperate to try to get Storm Surge for some of these players, and it's just costing them everything because now Wheat is out of heals.
Out of heals, put into panic. As now the altercations between Pablo as he gets knocked. Bevies, the last player of the duo that suffered with just 7 HP. He needs to take out more than just one player. He needs to pop that med kit. Unable to, goes down. Wheat as well knocked. Shimoki following after, as Lox is the only one left alongside Darkis.
This is the biggest and most prime example of a no-win situation I've ever seen outside of zone. Even the ones that we saw that were still alive, very little chance being able to make it back. Malibuca and Mustache trying to bulldoze through their opponents. Storm Surge is important. 523 points, though. They have taken back first place, trying to claim it as their own. Right history for Malibuca. First FNCS title up for grabs here today.
Medkits being popped, big pots being split. You can see 6th zone already coming to a close. All the duos now Forced to rotate here as the ones bogged up, looking back. Mustache, can he connect? Zooming in with that Reaper sniper rifle, looking to send his opponents to the shadows. With just 25 above, they can really use that shot. As Mustache goes left, Malabuka goes right, they split up. Huge shot connected though. It could be enough to put them above, but they don't want to get themselves into an opponent's box here. They want to regroup, they want to take shots from afar. They don't want to do anything too risky.
Yeah, and as soon as they find themselves a spot that they can box up and look back, even though they're not in zone, they're going to take it. But now, teams that are already congested inside of the zone, looking back at them, making them the focal point of their target. Luckily for everybody, we're going down a little bit up this hill. Changes the line of sight. It's not giving everybody equal opportunity. Walks Pixie. They're still trying to make their way in towards zone, which leaves them open to shots coming out from Mustache and Malabuka. They get themselves above the damage threshold, but it comes at a cost. Shield is gone from Malabuka and some of his HP as well.
They saw the crack. It changed his focus. His pressure is on. Walks able to recuperate that shield that he lost, but still with the low HP. The shots continue connecting. Yan is close by. In the path of chaos that's the surrounding area of Mustache and Malabuka. 30 just seconds left until 8th zone, and players are still rotating in.
He's just trying to target out anybody they can for Surge. Jump on board Queasy, Thomas in this replay. They're just going to try to make their way towards the zone. But first, making a little bit of a pit stop to try to gather a little bit more loot. Great find by Thomas. Him and Queasy trying to take back that first place throne. It's going to be a hard fought battle, literally to the very last game, Takata.
Those are the game-winning shots, Jacob. Those are the game-winning shots that Queasy and Thomas need to get back up to first place. Currently in third. They had the hiccups from the early game. One big game could set them up in the last match. Cade now has lost Diox. He is alone, but he has a decent amount of damage. 2 medkits as well to top it off. As Storm Surge, the warning once again, advising these players to do damage. So many players close by, but you don't want to risk it all.
Especially since we are in the 7th zone with about 50 players still left alive. You know, it usually comes down to a situation where I do believe it's like 10 or so players need to go down. It's actually 4 at this stage, and then more so after that. So it's not going to be the easiest thing, as 8 more players still need to fall. Mustache, Malabuka, they're going to be low on Surge. They have no other choice but to go in. That's Mox, that's Pixie, who feel their force. And with that, they not only get all that loot, the mythic loot as well, but they get above the damage threshold, but still pressure coming from different angles. Mustache ends up yet another box, but it doesn't matter. Sends Aqua back to the lobby. No Noah in sight. That team's done and dusted here in Game 10.
Mustache charged up as they look electric, fueling themselves for the rest of this late game. For Thomas HD and Queasy on the contrary, Thomas able to get a knock. Queasy just 1 HP. I hope they were able to get out of that scenario. I'm trying to look for them. I see Queasy. He has shield now. It looks like they've made some sort of a comeback from that fight, securing 5 eliminations during it. But they need those medkits, Jacob. They really need to heal up.
Yeah, even Thomas is getting tagged up along the way. Shield isn't too much of a worry overall. They do have the medallion to pass around, but it's the HP in which they're heavily lacking. Queasy cannot take 1 tick to that zone where he will go down. Cade still finding any crevice that he can gain some confidence on as he tries to move up onto Hen. Hen was ready to fight back, but somebody chopped him down to size. Might have been a blessing in disguise for Cade because he's above the damage threshold, right towards the zone as well. He just needs to be able to find some builds, whether if it's a refresh or something that gets left behind. Cade needs to go on the hunt.
Yeah, with 6 builds, it is a dangerous situation to be in, as Thomas HD, Queasy now building up top once again. We've seen players hold on from the first moving zone all the way to the end. Can they be one of the duos to do so? They're lacking HP. All they really need is a refresh to grant them those medkits or grant them anything that they can use to heal back up.
And look at that race to the finish. 31 points separating these two teams. There's well over 30 points still left in this game in terms of placement. So it's going to be a battle between these two to who can outlast the other. And Queasy and Thomas need to get a couple more placements over Malibu and Mustache, or maybe kind of outmatch it with eliminations. Medkits, big pots are coming out. Malibu and Mustache getting ready for this next rotation. But first, they're going to try to disrupt a couple of these teams before they go ahead and make that rotation possible. Cade goes in, gets a knock, pressure coming in from all angles, not able to clean up the elimination before he goes down himself.
Be careful, as Thomas HD Queasy now forced to fight second high. Do they have what it takes to maintain it? It was Cammy, it was Seti down below, applying that pressure as they're back up top.
Yep. We've seen this in that last game. Of course, Queasy was just a little bit more healthy, but they were somehow able to find the med kit in which they were looking for. Great eliminations, a great find for them from top to bottom, high ground to low. Mustache and Malabuka being the defining force. It's like everybody, whether they're up or bottom, has to go through these two teams if they're looking to take a huge VR. Malabuka and Mustache, they want to get to the front side of zone. They're tired of being last. Thomas hits a nice snipe on the Darky. Everything comes crumbling down, but Queasy and Thomas are quickly able to find their footing and save the day.
Grapple Blade continuing to be used, no longer with height. It's been given up, as now they've been split. They need to regroup. You have to be careful here. You cannot lose your duo partner, but the chemistry isn't high enough. Thomas HD cracked, 60 HP, takes a shot at the pixel, gets out of the box, and now continues to find his duo.
Yeah, Medallion clicking him up. Malabuka, Mustache goes down. It's this amount of placing differential that Thomas and Queasy need to overtake that first place spot. They have 6 eliminations and looking for more. They set their eyes to the backside of the zone. It is pulling in that direction. They know somebody's there, but it's Eclipse. He's trying to start his heal off early to gather more placement.
They have no materials, though. They need to make something big happen. As from ozone to stratosphere in the sky, Yanis and Flixie, as high as they can be. Thomas HD, though, down in the dirt as he crawls towards his enemies.
Yeah, they don't really have enough to look up towards the sky. They're doing the bare minimum to stay alive from one stage to the next. And they know somebody's pressuring them from above. Time is running out. Builds are looking thin. Queasy, Thomas are going to have to look to make a play on a player, but it's them. Queasy gets aggressed off from the backside of zone, but the tables have turned. Hari's going to be able to get a knock on the one, but a ton of damage onto Thomas. Seti's going to complete the flank. Queasy's fighting for his life out here, and he gets the elimination onto Seti. Finds a couple of builds, but the zone is forcing him into a whole nother team's hands.
Somebody call security. Queasy's looking unstoppable as he needs to make something happen. Zone gets the best of him. Kiduo still up with 4. Can they get 5? They get the knock on the sky, but the duo up above, it's Yanis, Flixie. They want to take it home.
They already have 1 VR in the tournament yesterday. They're looking to go ahead and grab another one. Flixie came here to play. Yanis taking the high ground, denying all entry to Kiro. Kiduo is the first down. Going to come through. Yanis and Flixie, 8 elims. They make it look easy as they take the game by force.
What a way to close off the second to last match. Once again, a drastic change in the leaderboard. These grand finals have been way too intense, Jacob. I just cannot wait to see how they unfold.
This is just really turning out to be a photo finish. A knock on the pixel gets the elimination, dropping down. And Flixie, he's been around. He's been here. Not enough respect gets on his name with domination just like this. Yanis and Flixie moving up the leaderboard. Hey, this could be his first FNCS championship.
Look, Janis was actually duoed up with Vidil when Vidil secured his first ever and only FNCS title. So seeing Janis back at it again now with Flixie winning the second to last match, I'm only curious to see if they can bring that momentum into the last match of the day.
Yeah, and throughout the course of that game, Malabuka, Mustache going toe-to-toe with Queasy and Thomas. I said they needed to go down with a big gap of placement between them. It happened, but did Queasy and Thomas do enough to take first place? Frankie, please, I need your help. Let us know.
They made a ton of effort, so I'd be surprised if their efforts did not pay off, because when I watch this duo of Queasy and Thomas, I see a duo that has never wanted to win a major more, especially in Thomas's case. However, they didn't take the victory royale just then. What we did see was a true comeback story, and this is what we were talking about at the start of the show. We love to see a duo rise up, and I can't wait to see what's happened to Janis and Flixie in the rankings since their epic performance. 8 eliminations. They were not playing shy in this final endgame mini-minor.
Yeah, they weren't. And this is exactly what we've seen from this duo in the past. The past season has been a height-dominant season for them when it comes to finding success. If they're going to find success, it always seems to come from that high ground position. And again, we've seen it. We've seen a bit of a rocky road for them today and towards the latter end of yesterday as well. So it's nice to see them sort of rekindling some of the success they had yesterday. I think it was game number 2. They got a victory in a very similar manner as well. So this is a team that I spoke very highly of at the beginning of the weekend. And it's nice to see them coming back to that now, because it seems like they maybe lost their heads a little bit at the beginning of the day, but they've got them back now.
Yeah, I think one of the problems they were having is that Robin and Nia are supposed to be contesting them sort of over towards that reckless area, and so that was supposed to help them with early surge and then maybe sort of getting involved in that, you know, the tower, sorry, for the tower fight with Kira and Pink. I lost my train of thought there. But a bit more passively, I think with Robin and Midax leaving reckless, they had to get a bit more involved in that fight, which hasn't quite gone their way. And now this is, you know, time round, they're sort of finding their feet again. And again, this isn't a team that people expected to have to rise, right? They were supposed to just be a team up contending, and so now with that game, it does put them back into at least like a top 10 pre area where they can start to maybe find a bit more rhythm.
Boys, let's take a look at the leaderboard. I can't contain my anticipation any longer. Who is in that top spot? And there you have it. Queasy and Thomas, a well-deserved shot at the Axe of Champions, because their consistency for making those end games with higher limbs continues to impress Levin.
I mean, I'm almost starting to get tired of talking about just how good Thomas in particular is. I mean, some of the shots we're seeing him hit are just, it's out of this world. I mean, he must have now probably around 15, 16 snipes mini. Like, it is just ridiculous the things this guy is doing. This one here early in the game, I mean, do not open up a window. Just don't even bother, because Thomas is going to be somewhere with a sniper waiting, and it's going to be the end of your game. He was hitting shots mid-air, snipes to get a height. The variety here. And there's moments like this one mini where I'm looking at them now. Queasy's very low. He's not the greatest of HP. You're thinking, okay, yeah, it's over. The game's done. But no, he keeps hitting shots.
And I mean, it just, again, look at this, ready? Oh. That is unbelievable. It's something that we just expect from Thomas HD, and yet we expect that. We still get surprised every single time it happens, because he can just pull crazy things out of the hat, make some magic happen almost every single time. He's almost got a 25-minute highlight reel just from his clutches from today alone, and it's great to see that from this duo. And we said it, we talked about this duo's versatility, we talked about their ability to play height, we talked about their ability to play low ground as well. And when you have someone like Thomas just hitting those snipes, it becomes a lot easier to find yourself in a favorable position in those games. I sort of asked the question about this duo, you know, are they going to be able to perform when the zone isn't in their favor? Those first 3 games we saw it in their favor. That game a lot more south, like we saw yesterday, and they're performing. They're doing incredibly well. So this is a duo that, if they can make it off spawn in these last 2 games here, this could be their FNCS for the win.
Look, we've seen many great FNCS performances from Thomas individually. If he was to win, you know, today, it would probably be his best one yet in terms of just the things he's doing. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I do love that he is fighting his ex-duo, though, Malabuka, for that top spot. And Murstache and Malabuka have been another revelation for me, because this is a duo that has actually formed before back in Chapter 3. They went their separate ways. Not exactly sure why, because the way they're playing together now is magic, Mini.
It absolutely is, yeah, and it's nice to see these guys again continuing that consistency, despite that Malabuka hasn't had that FNCS win yet. They're not getting ahead of themselves, they're making sure to stick to their game. This game, though, unfortunately for them, wasn't quite as good as we've seen from them. I think it was around a 14th position where they ended up placing here, and it just turned into a little bit of a mess in this current situation. You can see them on the screen, everything was going a little bit wrong for them at those mid-ground layers, which is kind of contrary to what we've seen from them throughout the day. They've been very, very consistent. So for these guys, I don't doubt that they'll still be in the running for the first place. It's just whether they need to have one of their massive games like we know them for in the past.
Well, I mean, they better be in the running, because otherwise Thomas and Queasy are going to walk away with it. Like, the point differential between them and everyone else is really starting to be a big gap. So, you know, if you aren't a fan of Thomas, which I'd be surprised if you aren't, but if you're not, you're going to be rooting for Malibuca and Mustache right now because they are the ones that could be the team that takes it away. And so it looks like regardless, we're going to see a new champion, someone who's never had it before. And I think on both sides, whether it's Malibuca, whether it's Thomas, it is very, very deserving. And it's just so fascinating how we have a repeat, Frankie, right, of last year, where it was like, last year it was the battle between Malibuca and Mustache, who was going to get it first. This time now it's the battle between Thomas and Malibuca. Again, who's going to be the one to get their first FNCS? It's just crazy.
Well, the soldiers are lining up on the battlefield and war is about to commence. We only have 2 more games left, gents. So let's head over to our casters, Takata and Jacob PR for game number 11.
Let me tell you something real quick, Takata. Those who don't learn from this are doomed to repeat them. And this being kind of a 2-horse race towards the end, Malibuca made that mistake. He went down. He lost by mere points in Major 1 of last year. Do you think this is his road to redemption?
Look, I don't know if I even want to answer your question. I mean, what a way to enter the last match. You said it yourself. Malibuca hasn't yet won an FNCS, but you also have Thomas HD on the other hand. Might be one of the most deserving players who has yet to take home a title. The battle bus is ready. Last game of the day. Let's get into it.
This is it. With very few chances left here on the day. 2 games left overall for teams to pick up points. This is the game. This is the game that could lose you the FNCS if you're Queasy, Thomas, Malibuca, and Mustache. If you go down early, it is all over. And it almost looks like Queasy, Thomas, uncontested.
Wow.
Does that help or hurt them?
Huge.
I have to ask you, without Surge on Crimson Noms early on, does that help or hurt them?
No, that's a good question, but I'm going to say it helps them, Jacob, because from going down right off spawn without getting a single point, it could be the deciding factor. Mechanically, they can make it happen, but for Marius and Sandguild, can they do the same?
I love the cheeky play coming out from Belusi, trying to go up and over. Flowberry's teammate trying to go up. Marius trying to alleviate the pressure. It's like a shooting range. Sandguild's gonna go up. He's gonna come down, but he's gonna get knocked. Trade comes out. Marius doing enough to get the knock on the Gabix. Belusi trying to drop down low. He cannot clean it up. He cannot be a hero. He ends up with 0 points in this game as Marius and Sandguild stand tall.
Good way to start it off, but for how long will that safety last? You saw another duo coming in. Do they know that they are in the cone is the question. It's Teeny. It's Misha. Yes, they do. Shots come through. Pressure is on.
It's almost gotten personal between these 2 teams. Teeny, Misha trying to go in and cause destruction, and they do successfully get the eliminations. Marius and Sandguild go back to the lobby with only 1 game left.
Right, this is the second to the last match, game 11. 1 more to be played out after this. Malibuca and Mustache once again having the medallion, mythic loot, and vault uncontested. But there seems to be actually an engagement to the west of them happening. Looks like maybe a new duo has entered the realm of fencing fields. As we take a quick look at the leaderboard. It's close, Jacob. It's close.
Just, when was the last time we see an FNCS this close outside of Major 4? Really coming down to the last 2 games. Vidil, Reason. Reunited has never felt so good. That gives them equal opportunity to try to finally take the fight to Walks and Pixie. In which we've seen them come out on top more times than not throughout this weekend. It almost looks like they're trying to draw the NPC out as well to try to get an easy elimination. Being cautious as possible. They don't want to get caught off guard to Walks and Pixie.
Esse negócio aí.
give themselves a fighting shot for that first place, or maybe even a global championship spot, top 2 at the bare minimum. Cringe, you can see him over on the other side. It looks like switching away from Lavish Layer was a great play for them, because now they've made it to the end game.
Bony, Lunex, 4 on the board, about to grapple blade. Down below, you got to be careful though. It's the same plan as a lot of these other duos. You don't want to get mixed up in an opponent's box as they quickly change layers now. A bit safer, but the pressure from above will come through. It's the height team taking shots. They don't want anybody overtaking them, so they're going to keep applying that pressure to the duos close by.
And we're going up the mountain yet again. A lot of players going through a roller coaster of emotions, almost figuratively and literally, as Vico, somebody's knocking at the box on the low side. Shaco's and Aaron going ahead and battling it out between each other. Shaco is going to be the one that gets dropped down. iDrop continuing to move forward as a solo and somehow finds an elimination onto Roban, giving them 6 more points. Crucial points here at a moment like this.
20 HP, 20 builds, not much to work with for iDrop. All he needs to do now is find that solo, find that potential impact elimination, but it's a duo close by. You got to pick your fight correctly here, iDrop. So many healthy duos, but also so many solos in shambles. He has to find the correct one. It's Lunex above, still staying at the edge of the zone, hits the first shots. It's a crack onto his opponents, but he goes down.
The majority of the lobby is just running around as solos here. About 5 of them to be exact, Vico being one of them. Without builds, he's kind of forcing himself lower and lower, especially with the zone moving down that mountain. A little bit of a blessing in disguise as Mongrel finally goes down. 6 eliminations for him and Savage, and an end game has been achieved. Definitely enough points to move up the leaderboard a few spaces, but not where they would hope.
Lennox now left alone. Kiro still up above, taking shots. They don't want anybody getting close to them. Do they have medkits to hold it off? Do they even need it? As Sinead and Vanyak pick up one more. It's Vico now, though, looking to secure another elimination.
He just finds those refresh materials. Not a ton, but at least it's something for Vico to use on the low ground. Vasquez there as well. Vanyak and Sinead, one of the only duos still left alive other than Kiro and Kuduo on the high ground. So it's a duo's dream here, moving through all these solos. Vico missed opportunity as Vasquez is able to bounce around and get out alive.
4 still on the board for Vico. No materials though. He has 5 bandages, but it's not going to be as powerful as medkits. He needs to make something happen. Kiro dropped below to cause disruption on the low ground, leaving Kiduo up top, but with no medkits, he's going to have to go for an elimination.
Yeah, and you see Artskill already starting that heal off towards the backside of the zone. He might be able to take it if he has a few medkits, because this is going to come down to a fight. Sinead, Vasquez, Kiduo, all 3 players still battling it out as solos here towards the front side of the zone. Artskill, he's able to at least get 1 more placing point forward. Zephyr, the final battle's going out. Sinead versus Kiduo, and the heal off doesn't last towards the outside of the zone, but he stole together a couple of more placements before the game was finally stolen away.
Played perfectly with what they had. Kiduo quickly realizing he had no medkit. He had to go against that last player standing on the low ground, but knowing that he wasn't using a medkit, knowing that he most likely had more HP at 90, he took his time, he took his shots, and he took the victory royale.
Yeah, that's the perfect thing. Realizing the situation that you're in and making the most of it. Having the high ground, well-placed snipes from below, and even battling back to hold on to their position. Well-placed shot. That'll Savage go down. Mongrel fell shortly after. These guys are picking up the pace at the perfect moment, Takata.
Blessed zone as well for the duo, being so high up in the clouds for the difficult roller coaster of a zone of the players who are rotating through the hill, the icy, slippery slope down below. Kiro Kiduo finished it off strong.
And you got to imagine where it started. The biggest change up from day 1 and day 2. Pink and Vico did not contest that forecast tower, which gave it over to Kiro and Kuduo for free. Being able to see the next zone has to be a blessing for them. They've won the game, but with only 1 game left, I'm going to throw it to our analysts one more time to figure out where everybody stands with the last chance around the corner.
Thank you so much, Takata and Jacob. What a game. It was so exciting to see some of the names that perhaps we haven't got to talk about over the weekend surge to the top, the mid ground and the low ground. And with Kiro and Kajiro, they did clutch that high ground, and then Kajiro himself clutched the victory royale. And this is a duo that we spoke a lot about in the upper bracket of the semi-finals. But I've been waiting to see them have a performance like this, Levin, and I'm so glad we got to see that.
I think it's one of the few examples of where we've seen them get that forecast tower with some relative ease, and that definitely has played a part. They've been involved in that sort of heinous battle all weekend long, Mini, and it's been one that they've come on top of in some occasions and not in others, but they make things work, and I think that is what makes this duo so impressive.
Yeah, when they do make it to endgame, they seem to do really well, particularly with that forecast tower, as you mentioned, particularly in those sort of mountainous zones as well. If you have zones that are going to be pulling over hills, all the other players that don't know where that's going to go ahead of time, they can't plan ahead. So for Kiro and Kiduo, you saw them on height, they needed to be elevated, they knew that ahead of time, so they could sort of pre-plan and pre-prep for that. And really nicely well played, of course, as well. We saw some nice clutches there throughout the game from those guys, and of course the clutch out the win at the end is always good for them.
They might not be in a position to take the Axe of Champions at the end of this next game. However, don't forget, every placement counts. Every placement you get gets you potentially higher in terms of that prize pool and getting a bigger bag. So obviously our duos are still fighting for those positions at the end of the day. However, there are a number of duos who are still in contention for the Axe of Champions. So let's take a look at the leaderboard. With the big names falling so early in that last game, it kind of hasn't changed that much at the top, apart from, of course, when it comes to Kiro and Kajiro Mini Miner. And you know what? I was wrong. 530 points. If they had the game of their lives and Queasy and Thomas didn't, maybe there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, if we see a repeat of what we just saw right there, we could be saying Kiro and Kiduo are our FNCS champions for Chapter 5 Season 1. But we have to imagine here, with how both of these top two teams are playing, it's coming down to a two-horse race realistically. We saw, of course, both those teams being left down to a solo in that end game. It was actually the players that hadn't won an FNCS yet that were trying to fight for those extra few placement points in Thomas and Malabuka. And, I mean, this is exciting, Levin, because we have one team that are contested, one team that have the tendency maybe to not have that great of an end game in Mustache and Malabuka. So it's like, if Queasy and Thomas make it on spawn here, could be theirs for the taking. But Mustache and Malabuka, they know how to play well.
Absolutely. In that last game, though, Noms and Cringe decided not to contest Lavish, right? And so I think at least for that game, they probably gained a lot of Danish Fortnite fans, right? They, their Twitter followers are going up for sure. And we'll see if they want to keep, that streak going and keep gaining all the Danish fans by not contesting once again. Because, yeah, they in theory could end the FNCS right now, right? Like, going into this early game, if they decide to contest and things don't quite go the way for Queasy and Thomas, you'd think that's it, right? You'd think Malabuka and Mustache would be able to accumulate more than 2 points. I certainly do think that as well. So we'll see how it goes off spawn. If they are uncontested, though, which I think is what will happen, again, you just have an absolute corker of a game on your hands, man. I mean, are you not entertained? This is what FNCS is all about. Again, Malabuka and Thomas, two players that have been in this exact same position a year ago, right? Chapter 4, Major 1, both of them playing together. We're in a two-horse race with Tayson and Mustache, and they fell. They weren't able to complete the job and get that title. So now, now it's both of them against each other. Can one of them best the other? It's going to happen in this last game.
Remember what happened there at the end as well? It was Malabuka who actually needed to hit that final shot all the way back when in Chapter 4 Season 1 in order to win that FNCS. So we're seeing something very similar with the same people involved. It's all about hitting that damage shot. It's all about making sure you can make the most of this last game. This is going to be really intense.
And boys, I'm just getting flashbacks now to standing on that stage with you back in Chapter 4 Season 1 as we watch that final endgame, as we watch these duos basically with the Shockwave Harrows just zooming across the zone. It was neck and neck, and it was incredible Fortnite. And that is what we're about to see once more for Chapter 5 Season 1. Takata and Jacob PR, it's game number 12. Take it away.
Last game of Major 1, Jacob, and there's a 2-point difference between Malabuka Mustache and Thomas Queasy. But they were talking about it. The deciding factor here is what happens in the early game. Is Thomas HD and Queasy going to get contested once again? And if they do, will they be able to come out on top?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question we're asking ourselves. And with 2 points, that's less than elimination. That's less than half of an elimination overall. So when you see each other getting eliminations in the feed, it almost motivates you to have to push yourself that much further. Malabuka, Mustache fighting history. Queasy, Thomas fighting history. No matter what happens here in this FNCS, I'm just proud to say that history will be made.
Levin broke it down perfectly. This would be Queasy's third FNCS title, each time with a new duo, and not only that, the new duo being their first FNCS title. And I think Thomas HD might be the most deserving one yet to secure that, being the world's, well, having the most top 10s in the world without yet securing that FNCS. So will they be able to do it? The question gets answered now. Battle Bus is ready. Let's get into game 12.
Hopefully everybody has strapped themselves in, because this final game is going to be one wild ride, full of emotion, full of passion, and full of a chance to get that global championship spot and call yourself the best in all of the EU region. And we've called it yet again. No contestation coming out for Queasy and Thomas. Cringe and Noms, much respect to them.
We have a match, Jacob. We have a match, as Mustache and Malabuka have not been contested either throughout this whole day 1 and day 2 of grand finals. They have duos in the area, but none of them fighting their side of the drop. I'm looking to see if there's any changes in the last match, but it looks like it's going to be a similar situation. So it's going to be all about setting themselves up for that late game, securing as much loot, as much damage as possible, as now that Queasy and Thomas are not contested entirely, they will have to focus a bit more on getting those tags. Misha, Tini are going to be the duo that's close by.
Gotta be careful. Misha and Tini are known to pull out some sneaky tricks and really camp on the way to other players' loot paths, but uncontested, Queasy, Thomas, they're going to spend a ton of time in and around the buildings of Lavish Lair.
Vou confessar que eu tô torcendo
So
por
hopefully they just
Malabuka.
don't get too greedy for more loot than they can handle. Otherwise, that's when things will start to go sideways, and Queasy is moving over in that direction. He has to be careful. Luckily for him, he does hear some shots pop off. Chance to get some damage onto Tini. But he has to be careful. There's so many dangerous players waiting in the wings all around this position. And with little builds left, it's a great decision for Queasy to disengage, because that would have been so bad for him to get caught out in the open.
Crash pads used, but it was worth it as they're back above. Misha, though, Tini, now left as a solo. It's Chapix, Tino. We're going to be capitalizing on this situation. But this is also huge for Queasy and Thomas HD, as all they really need to do here are take those pop shots. You can tell they have to kind of make a decision here, as in theory they do have the advantage against these opponents. They just got out of an engagement. They most likely don't have a lot of shield, most likely do not have a lot of HP, but at the same time they don't want to do anything too risky. They can't get eliminated so early on.
Yeah, that'll basically be the tournament done and over with. And you can see Queasy just watching them like a hawk. Vital information for him and Thomas about when they can actually go for that medallion and the NPC to try to get that mythic loot. Mustache is going to find a huge treasure trove underneath after opening the vault. That double gold loot coming out of the vault. They get the gold hammer pump, a gold striker. They already have the mythic. If this is a game for Malabuka and Thomas off spawn, this is going to be the one where they could take it all.
You gotta think what's on their mind right now, Jacob. Last match of the day, pressure on their shoulders. It all comes down to this from the qualifiers, semifinals, first day of grand finals, now the last match of the second day. The conclusion of Major 1. It all really comes down to this. We can even take a look of what Queasy's doing here, as he was able to pick up an Elim, and that's already 6 points, Jacob.
Yep. That gap is beginning to open up just a little bit. 2-point differential is now turned into 8-point lead for Queasy and Thomas. But another team that have earned the right to be in contention, a big win, uncontested Forecast Tower, moved themselves into 3rd place with 530 points. It might seem out of reach of that top 2, about 70, 80 points of separation, but A first place is worth 100 points and 6 points per elimination. So if we have the situation, Queasy, Thomas, Malibu, and Mustache go down early, it would be wide open for them to take it all.
Look, it's more than doable. Even Fadil and Reason at 500 points, basically. All it takes is one little hiccup from either duo in first and second place here. And it will open up that shot for the others down below. Evi's Pablo by Hazy Hillside. No duos in sight as all our players here continue to prep themselves for the late game.
Kira and Kudo probably saw this, and now that they're in contention, they said, nah. We'll give it up this game. You gave it to us last game. Pink and Vico land a monster of a shot on Yanis. Flixie's already weak. They have a huge advantage in this fight. Just not sure they got the memo just yet. Still another team looting up the scraps that are left over towards Reckless Railways. And then obviously, the tendency for Venno and Tayson to move over from Grand Glacier is going to be real in this position. But Yanis and Flixie have had enough. They're going to disengage on out, move back on over to Reckless Railways where they can heal up and regather some of that loot.
Nick and Vico now in control of the forecast tower. All the third parties they've had to go through, from Venno, Tayson, Janice, Flixie. As we look at our fourth place team, Reason and Vadil. 100 points, Jacob, you said it. That's what the Victory Royale can get you today, with 6 points per elim. We've seen it happen before, these massive matches. If they want first place, that's all they need.
See, already they have the forecast tower in mind. There is one team positioned nearby, that's Hen and Vasquez. They have to be careful for it. They've been ready to fight for it more times than not throughout the weekend. It's a huge tool to their game plan, being able to make it far in some of these games. The boss has already spawned as well. Hen and Vasquez have control in terms of those pieces, but Vadil and Reason move in with ease to take down the boss, and now they'll be the ones with that reboot card to secure the first forecast tower.
Huge benefit to this match as they're able to get the forecast. They will be able to see those zones up ahead, and it's going to be crucial for their positioning as we look back at Sangil Marius, who did take one of the matches today. They're looking to kind of position themselves in a bit more of an elevated location, and for our previous match winners, Kiro and Kiduo, they've put themselves into a battle.
This is not the time. You just had a phenomenal game going down here. Kind of end a dream run, but it's Venno and Tayson. They have different plans in their mind if they want to move up the leaderboard. With 350 points, they got to give themselves a shot. And that's going to come with maybe a 15, 20 elimination victory royale. At least there's a condition for them to try to win. Slightly out of reach and very, very risky. But Tayson and Venno, if they want to go ahead and advance to the global championship here this weekend, it's really the only way to do it.
Tayson Venno currently in 16th place. Kiro Kiduo in 3rd. One of the duos here trying to hold on to their position. As you said it yourself, Jacob, top two do go to the global championships. So Kiduo and Kiro are just one position away from making it. But if Venno is able to get this knock, it could be the end for them. He hits the first shot. It's not going to be a crack as he gets dropped down. 8 HP is what he's left with. The whole build fight is chopped down, and the pressure is on.
Disaster strikes. The interesting thing is they don't necessarily know how weak Venno actually is. Tayson's trying to move in on another angle, alleviate the pressure. But our team, one of our top teams that's in contention, Aqua Noah on the other side, going against Malibuka and Mustache, now cut in a hard position, slowly but surely trying to back up. Third parties coming in, spraying in their direction, coming from fencing fields. This is going to be tough for them to survive, especially against Aqua and Noah. But I think they've had enough. They realize who they're going up against, and they quickly disengage on out.
Tipo, ia ser
A
o
breath of
duelo pra
fresh air has
decidir
been
o
had for
campeão da
Malibuka and
FNCS.
Mustache.
Seria no mano a mano.
Luckily enough, they did have the heals to recuperate the damage that was dealt. Now both looking healthy again. Still 3 shots in the chamber. Mustache with even more. They've done a good bit of damage, but they cannot
Obviamente não vai acontecer, né? Porque
get
caiu
pushed here. They need to just
e o outro
focus
caiu em
on staying up.
lar do luxo, né?
Very, very scary for them momentarily.
Caíram muito distante.
But luckily they have the luxury to kind of rotate back to where they were before, find any heals that were left behind. distance. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And with the amount of sniper ammo that Thomas has, you know, you can kind of go for these Hail Marys.
I mean, we saw what Thomas did in a bush at the start of this tournament. But now if you